Instead of being poached from, Georgia Tech poached someone else for a defensive coordinator.
You are Locked On Georgia Tech, your daily podcast on the Georgia Tech Yellow Jackets, part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
What's going on, everybody? Welcome into a bonus episode of Locked On Georgia Tech. I am one of your hosts, Caleb Johnson. Wasn't smart enough to get into Georgia Tech, but plenty smart enough to talk Georgia Tech sports. Taking this daily journey with me, covering the Yellow Jackets, is my co-host, Jarvis Davis, who's been covering Atlanta sports for the last 15 years. We want to start by saying thank you for making Locked On Georgia Tech part of your first listen of the day. Of course, we're coming to you in the middle of the afternoon. If you're catching us live on this episode, if you're listening back, trust me, it is well worth it for us to get into the subject right off the bat, because we have quite literally breaking news. Today on the show, we're going to get into, did Georgia Tech get an upgrade at defensive coordinator, Jarvis? But first, let's get right into the fact that, yes, after speculation, I know there had been some fans on social media saying, well, hey, there's nothing official yet. Blake Gideon might still stay at Georgia Tech, even though everyone and their mother has him connected to going back to Texas. And now we have breaking news that it is being reported Jason Semore is going to take on the role as defensive coordinator for the Yellow Jackets, which means he will be leaving what was supposed to be his upcoming job this year as defensive coordinator for Charles Huff and the Memphis Tigers, who were making the jump there. Jarvis, gut reaction to Jason Semore as defensive coordinator.
It feels good to snag somebody's coach from the coaching staff, right? Just kind of feel a little good. Charles Huff actually is an excellent coach, man. He was with him at Southern Miss, also at Marshall. So you understand, like, a lot of times, man, this is how the coaching world works. You get up underneath a guy that you feel is an excellent coach, and you just ride that wave, baby. And Seymour has been able to do that with Huff. Obviously, having some experience coaching at Tech before, at a previous thing before. So, there's definitely familiarity there. So I think that, man, when we came across this, probably about 20, 30 minutes ago, it was just like, oh, okay, I like this. I like it because, understanding what they've been doing in the portal, this kind of makes sense, right? Because you've seen that they getting some edge guys. We talk about Jess Simpson having a certain type, a defensive lineman, and you just getting all these big boys coming in to come on, signing on and committing, coming out of the portal. So when you have that many guys coming out, you got to at least have an idea of what you're trying to run, what you're trying to do up front. And also you got a guy, you understand what you're trying to do as far as from a play call standpoint. And it's obvious that, Key had his eye on him, and it'd been really quiet as far as DC go. We talked about Tyler Santucci potentially coming back, but hey, they got another guy that will come back. And Caleb, he coached linebackers. So we know more than likely we're going to hear about some linebackers potentially being targeted in that portal, and I'm sure that Seymour is going to have his eyes on a couple of guys and saying, hey, coach, let me get a little bit of that bag so I can pass it on to some guys who can come down here and make some plays for me.
Yeah, I think the thing that stands out to me about him is, the Georgia Tech connection. Okay, so there's clearly some relationship there with him and Coach Key. Always going to be important. But also, this is really the first separation in a number of years and hires that Jason Semore is making from Charles Huff. He's kind of been the guy who has followed Huff as he has kind of risen amongst the ranks, whether it's Marshall, whether it's Southern Miss, moving on to Memphis. Now breaks off and says, hey, I need to make a name for myself. Yeah. I also love the fact, Jarvis, that you mentioned linebackers, but when we start looking into recruiting, he is a guy who turned, or at least helped, because I can't give him all the credit, helped turn Mike Green into the man that he became out of Marshall. I mean, I know, like, you got to see firsthand what Mike Green looked like at the Senior Bowl. Like, that was that man did his thing and literally just got to walk away and be like, yeah, y'all draft me.
Yeah, man. And that's the beauty of this thing, man. That's why I love like guys who are coaching, like they're responsible for guys. Now, granted, guys have to have a certain level of talent in order for it to make sense, right? Especially when you're talking about going from being a 5%er and being a scholarship athlete in the college world to being like a 0.0005% to make it into the NFL and have some type of impact. So, yeah, when you think about what he was able to do with a guy like Mike Green, because he had some issues, right? You know, he had to transfer, and so he had to understand, like, okay, what makes this guy tick? What went wrong at the previous school? So once I bring him into the fold, we're gonna understand that, all right, this is the type of system that he can, you know, have success in, and then, you know, that's your selling point, right? Like, okay, here's my plan for you. If you like this, here's where you can potentially be. And I love that when guys like a Jason Semore can have a plan for a guy like Mike Green to, you know, be able to get him to that next level, because that's what it's all about, man. If you are a good coach, man, you're going to have a huge impact on these guys. And it seems like Semore has definitely done that so far.
Recruiting is real important, and it's looking like Jason Semore has that locked down. Let's next get into, look, let's be honest. Is this an upgrade from Blake Gideon? The college football playoff is here, and FanDuel is giving all customers even more ways to get on the action every single game day of the playoffs. Because right now, college football playoff game day, FanDuel users get a profit boost waiting for them in the app. You're excited about, you know, what Miami, what Indiana can do in the national championship. You can use profit boost to get in all the bets you already feel good about. Whether you want to ride the favorite when you think one team or another controls the matchup, whether you want to take a shot at the underdog if you feel an upset coming, or build a parlay around players, moments that you think is going to ultimately decide that natty. When you use Profit Boost, you go after bigger wins, and when you win, FanDuel pays out instantly, which is perfect for playoff football. FanDuel is the best place to get in on the action all playoff long, so visit FanDuel.com to get your college football playoff profit boost every day. Visit FanDuel.com. Thank you guys for making Locked On Georgia Tech part of your day. This is a bonus episode that we wanted to get to you right as soon as we found out the news that Jason Semore is going to be named defensive coordinator for the Georgia Tech Yellow Jackets. And so I ask you, Jarvis, because of what we saw this past season with Blake Gideon, and then him ultimately deciding, hey, I'm not going to go take the DC job at Texas. I'm just going to go take a role on that team and want to go back home. Is Jason Semore an upgrade from Blake Gideon?
Yes. First of all, because he wants to be here, right? He wants to be here. He wanted to be. He got courted, or coating, as the old folks say. He got coated. He said yes. And when you think about trying to build a program, trying to make that jump, going back to what Key has talked about, he wants to make that next jump, right? On the verge of winning, of getting a bid to go into the ACC Championship. No, all you had to do was beat Pitt, and you would have doggone been walking your way on your way to Charlotte, right? Mm-hmm. This is the type of hire that can get you there, because here's why I say he's a big upgrade. Tech was one of the worst, if not the worst team in conference as far as taking the ball away. And when you give up a whole bunch of yards and you can't stop the run, you better be able to take that bad boy away, because you got to give your offense as many possessions as possible, and they weren't able to do that. And I think that with Jason Semore, number one in FBS as far as taking the ball away. So when you think about that aspect of it, this is exactly what they need. And then you're talking about the linebacker and the play that it was, like guys like Kyle Eifert just falling off the map and not even kind of wondering like what's going on with this cat. Semore should be able to get him back to where he needs to be. And also like I mentioned earlier, bring some guys in that know exactly what he's expecting from his linebacker core. So yeah, man, I feel like this is an immediate upgrade for those two reasons. He wants to be here, and two, he has a good history with getting his defense to take the ball away.
Yeah, I think part of the reason why I look at this as an upgrade is, hey, just for starters, he's a play caller already. So you're not learning on the job and learning and doing this for the first time like Blake Gideon was. I think also he is a winner. Now, of course, you can't give him all the credit for the programs that he's been a part of winning, but seeing what he was able to do at the Division II level with Valdosta State winning a national championship in 2021. You know?
Don't say that too quickly, Caleb. I have a little personal issue.
I'm sorry.
Bad memories come up, stuff. I'm not ready to tell the story now, but there's a 28-3 type situation that happened when I was at Albany State playing against Valdosta State in the playoffs. So yeah, I ain't ready to reveal that story yet. We'll talk about that another day. But yeah, you got to be careful when you say Valdosta State.
Hey, look, he was a part of that organization as they won a national championship in the Division II level. Yeah. He also then goes to Marshall and helps them win the Sun Belt. And so as we talk about Georgia Tech wanting to be that kind of team that can win the conference, that can be a part of the college football playoffs, that cannot have what happened this past season be a fluke going 8-0.
Yeah.
When you see a guy who has been along and had success as he's been along in his career, I don't think you can give all the credit to Charles Huff where he's made some of his stops previously. Clearly it seems like Jason Semore knows what he's doing when he's coaching up defense. I have seen some of the Southern Miss fans, some of the Marshall fans talk about some issues on, blown coverages on third downs and things like that. Okay. Maybe it's not going to be all perfect, but I do like what I see when it comes to he's been able to coach up some lower level programs into really, really, really good defenses. I mean, with Marshall, I think I saw they were like top 10 in the country in red zone defense. And so those are the things that stand out where you go, okay, so he's had to recruit at lower levels and find talent in different areas. And now he gets an opportunity on a bigger stage. This is someone who wasn't, given a silver spoon, essentially, in order to try to make this work. And so as I look at this and compare to, what Blake Gideon was able to bring in, I'm not saying that I wasn't someone who would have liked to have seen Gideon return just for the simple fact of having some continuity. But if you've got to bring somebody else in, going on the younger side of things, going someone who's been a part of the program before, and then going with someone who's had success every step of the way, makes you really feel good about the direction of this offseason that completely, if I'm completely honest, Jarvis, we've talked about some previous moves that have been made, the other side of the ball in that coordinator position, haven't exactly loved that one. And so this one feels like so much bigger of a home run hit and makes you feel, gives you some confidence back, I would say, for what this upcoming season could look like.
I mean, then you got Vinny Sunseri as well, who's co-defense coordinator down in Florida. He played the position, he played in SEC. He understands what all that entails, right? So you have that. I taught it, I played it, so you have that perspective. I played it, so I understand what you're going through. I can make adjustments on the fly because I've been there before. I've been on the field in your position. So I think that when you talk about different facets of the game, there's always room to improve. We're not saying he's the perfect defensive coordinator, but he has a lot of things that you can like early on, especially when you're talking about turnovers. Man, if you got a defense that can give your offense extra possessions off the rip just because of what you've been able to do in the past, man, that is, you're talking about with George Gossett coming back, that can help. Because you're talking about three phases of the game being able to complement one another. That's that's an amazing piece to bring to the table. So if he can bring what he did at Southern Miss and what he's done in the past, that's going to do nothing but help, write that vision that Key has been trying to project and promote. And that is, hey, man, we got to make another jump. you know, we got to be able to get to the next level, and that is getting to Charlotte, winning the ACC championship, and then obviously getting into that college football playoff and trying to compete for the big one.
Yeah, unfortunately, Tony, no, I don't think that Jason Semore can coach basketball. One thing at a time, you know.
Man, hold your horses.
Yeah, I was gonna say, you know, the boat's got some holes in it. We're plugging holes one problem at a time that we solve here,
brick by brick, man. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah. But let's enjoy this one. Jarvis and I are going to be back with you Monday with a brand new episode Monday morning that'll be out as we talk about more about Jason Semore, kind of the things that we're able to, additional details we're able to find out about him, what's going on with the transfer portal. There's going to be a lot to break down this upcoming week because, yes, the transfer portal is still open for a few more days. A lot of changes can still be made to this team currently as we head into the 2026 season and, you know, try to be back competing with the likes of the team that's going to go compete out of the ACC for the national championship. But that's going to do it for this episode of Locked on Georgia Tech. Like I said, be back with us on Monday morning for a new episode then. Follow Jarvis at JarvisD90. I'm at ATL Johnson 18. Until next time, y'all have a good one.